First thing I would recommend that you do, if you have not done this before, is make sure you review the academic calendar. Now I'm going to click on this. We'll see if it'll cooperate. If you don't know where that is, it is actually off the main UTD webpage. You can actually just click academics and you can scroll down here to the academic calendar. Now you can see the fall calendar is currently up, or parts of it. But if you scroll down, you can get to the spring calendar. And it's important to know those dates. So if you look at the calendar, and I'm actually going to pull this up here, you can see, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, but you can see they tell you when classes begin, the last day of classes, final exam schedule, things like enrollment appointments. So you won't even be able to see when you can enroll until Monday. And then once the planner is available, it will also tell you, you'll get some information about when you can actually enroll. But you got drop deadlines, graduation deadlines, spring break, all those important things that you may, inquiring minds, want to know. So just realize that the academic calendar is a great place to start for any semester. You also want to check your enrollment date. So after the 23rd, or on the 23rd, you should be able to go into Galaxy Orion and you should be able to see your enrollment date. So in advising also has information about registering for classes, new students. I know that they had a new student seminar earlier this week. You can look at your courses in Course Lookup. So one of the advantages of Course Lookup is you can go back and look at prior semesters to see the syllabus and the evaluations. So again, I'm going to do this from the main UTD webpage. So you can see how to find it. There's Coursebook. So if I click on this, now this is for fall, spring's not here yet, but you could go back to fall and say, hey, I'm interested in finance. I'm interested in Finance 6301, or I'm just interested in looking at all the grad classes. And you can actually go into the class detail. You can get the instructor CV. You can see here, there'll be an evaluation. It's not here yet because fall's still ongoing, but you can get a lot of information about the class. And of course, evaluations also will appear here once the semester is over. So it's a great way to get some initial information about the classes. And you can go ahead and plan your schedule. So you'll have a little time between the time the calendar rolls out and the time you enroll in order to figure out your classes. And typically in the first semester, we kind of tell you what to take, as you'll see here in just a moment. So we don't give you a lot of choices. So you will be under the fall 2023 graduate catalog. So even though you started in the spring, your catalog is actually from fall 2023. And that means you need to meet those degree requirements to graduate. Anytime you want to look at your graduate catalog, you can actually just search graduate catalog and it will get you right there. So we'll talk more about those requirements here in just a moment, but there are 3 program prerequisites. The first one is professional development. It's a 1 credit hour class. Most students need that course. So if you did an undergrad in the US or you worked in the US for a while, you may be able to complete a waiver form. That form is through advising. I'll have Penny put the link in here. That waiver is determined by the Career Management Center, not by the program. So just keep in mind that if you are asking for a waiver in professional development, that is actually coming through a specific process. The calculus class and the statistics class are determined by Penny and myself, and we look at your transcript. We look for calculus with a B or better, statistics or econometrics, ideally with a B or better. What sometimes happens is that we don't always see them on your transcript. So for most students, we can find the calculus, we can find the statistics. If you qualify for the waiver, then that's fine. If you don't, you'll get an email or message from us that indicates that you need one of the prerequisites. And usually between the two, it's statistics. Now, sometimes people have had statistics but we can't tell because schools like to give statistics interesting names, like research and development design, so we're not sure what it is. So if you are told you need statistics, but you've taken it, you just need to send us some information that lets us know which class it was in. So something in the course description, something in the syllabus, something so we know which course it was. In particular, if you had Math 1, Math 2, Math 3, and probably Math 4, I don't know which of those is statistics. So you need to let us know which one it is. If that happens, we can do those waivers very quickly. Those just require an email to the MS Finance mailbox, and Penny and I can take care of those. So you don't need a form. Those are easy because they're what we do. Those program prerequisites do not count towards your degree. They are not part of the 36 credit hours. If you need one of them and you haven't had it, you would take them in your first semester. So what is your degree plan? You have 18 credit hours of core. In the first semester, you will take the top 3, most likely, an accounting class. So accounting, you have 3 choices. You can pick any one of these. Accounting 6305 is accounting for managers. It basically is a combination of managerial and financial accounting. If you've never ever done any accounting, this might be a good choice for you because you get a chance to see both financial and managerial. We tend to use more financial accounting and finance, but it gives you exposure to both. Accounting 6301 is Introduction to Financial Accounting. So again, if you've never done accounting, you're wanting to go into the valuation investment banking space, you may be looking at that Accounting 6301 for a little bit more dive into the financial accounting side. Now, if you've done accounting before, you have some experience there, you might choose Accounting 6330. That is Intermediate Financial Accounting 1. And I know you may be thinking, well, how can I take intermediate when I haven't done the intro? They actually don't have a prerequisite for that Accounting 6330. So you can do that, but I would only recommend that if you have some background in accounting. The second course you'll take, and you'll enroll in these in order. So you want your accounting course first, and then you'll pick up your Finance 6301. Finance 6301 is financial management. It is the first core course, and it is required for all the students. And then Finance 6307 will be the last one that you pick out of the core, and that one is mathematical methods. It's a statistics finance hybrid. So it's not just stats, it's a combination of stats and finance. They use the books from CFA level 1 and 2 to give you some idea of what that looks like. The remaining 3 core classes, 6318 is analytics of finance. 6352 or 53, those are both financial modeling classes, one for valuation and the other for investments. And the last one, 6360, is derivatives. Those last 3 classes, you won't be taking those in your first semester. They have a prerequisite of either Finance 6301 or Finance 6307. And when you go to enroll in later semesters, as you'll hear from me later on, you can spread these out, and you probably should. So just realize that in the first semester, we try to have you take as many of your prerequisites as possible. For your elective classes, you also need 18 credit hours of electives. So you'll need 12 credit hours, typically 4 courses, that have a prefix of fin or real. So for example, it could be private equity, it could be investments, it could be macroeconomics and financial markets. But you'll need 12 credit hours with that prefix. The remaining 6 credit hours, they can come from fin. We're happy if you want to take all finance courses, it works for us. But if you wanted to take an accounting course or an analytics course or an energy course or an ENTP course or a MECO course or an MIS course or an OPRE course, pretty much most of the courses in JSOM, you can do that. The exceptions are the 2 program prerequisites. It doesn't make any sense to count those. And we don't include Accounting 6202 because most people need 3 credit hours and not 2. That will change with the fall 2024 catalog. We'll let students start taking Accounting 6202. But realize it's only 2 credit hours. You can tell that by the second number. So the 6 tells you it's a graduate program, so look for 6 or higher. And then the 3 is telling you how many credit hours. So this is graduate level, master's level, and it's only 2 credit hours. It's 7,000 level is usually PhD, so heads up on that. So what is your first typical semester? What do I take? 3 classes, 9 credits, and then your MAS 6102. So it'll be your accounting class, Finance 6301, Finance 6307. But if you're starting in the spring, you need to take 12 credits in order to apply for a continuing student scholarship in the fall. So you will need to find another 3 credit hour class, typically within your track, to supplement that. If you're planning to apply for a scholarship. So it's something to be aware of. It's not needed for TA positions and applying for those, but it is for scholarships. So you can see I mentioned here waivers and transfers. So what are these? So there's a form actually on the advising webpage. It's exactly the same place as the MAS 6102 form. So I'm going to actually do this in reverse order. Transfers are for graduate level courses. If you have a prior master's degree in business and it's completed within the last 6 years with a grade of B or better, you can transfer up to 9 credit hours of related coursework. The one thing to be aware of is if you're transferring in coursework, the date you start the program is tied to the date of the transfer class. So if I took a class in 2021, then as far as the program is concerned, that transfer class is dated 2021. And so you have 6 years to complete the degree. So just be mindful of that. For waivers, and you can see here, transfers actually reduce the hours you need. It's graduate to graduate work is really what it is. So you're bringing in graduate work to use here. Waivers, on the other hand, are undergraduate classes traditionally, or they can be graduate classes that have aged out. So basically what a waiver does is it lets you substitute a course with a higher level in the same area. So let's suppose you have an accounting degree from University of Texas, and you say, well, I don't really know if I want to take one of these accounting classes. I've been working as a CPA. You can put in a request for a waiver. In that particular case, what would happen is you would have to replace it with an accounting course. You can't replace accounting with finance. It has to be like to like. Similarly, if you are a finance undergraduate, you may say, well, I don't know about doing Finance 6301. I've done business finance and I've done advanced business finance in my undergrad. You can ask for a waiver. In that case, you could replace it with a different fin course. We don't require you to do that. This is a choice that you make as to whether you want to waive or transfer classes. But waivers don't change the hours you need. You just change the composition of your degree. It typically takes 2 undergrad classes to waive a graduate class. So if you do have waivers that you're interested in, we can help with some of that as well. Your tracks, there are 5 choices. They are not currently on your diploma or transcript. That may be changing very soon. So for right now, they're just recommendations for career paths. We have some program resources to help you pick those paths. Those 5 tracks are financial analyst, which is aligned with the CFA track, and taking the CFA exams. It covers 70% of the body of knowledge for level 1, about 50% for level 2. The corporate finance investment banking track, real estate, which is aligned with CCIM, fintech and financial management is the catch-all. So, if you're coming in with some finance background, you'll probably end up in financial management. It lets you pick and choose. Again, the main thing here is 12 credit hours of fin or real. The other 6 can be from finance or other areas. So Graduate Catalog has all the details about that and about what's in each of those tracks. So again, select your accounting, select your finance 6301, select your finance 6307, then your MAS 6102, and any other electives that you want. And so advising again has a link for how to register for those classes if you're unsure. You can't do it until your enrollment date. So Some folks have already emailed me, can I go ahead and do this? It's like, I don't even know the schedule yet. So I can tell you what you're likely to see. In the spring, you will see Finance 6301, Finance 6307. There will be online sections of that. The 3 accounting classes will definitely be there. I suspect 1 or more will have an online component. Intermediate is usually face-to-face, but the other 2 usually have an online option. Professional development, there's usually numerous sections to choose from. Some of them are also only half semesters, so you may be able to do it in just 8 weeks instead of all the way through. So just something to be aware of. And then the electives you can take for spring are going to be very limited. The reason for that is Finance 6301 and Finance 6307 are pre or co-requisites for virtually everything. So the only classes you can really do online are going to be the regulation class 6308, an introduction to real estate, which is 6321, macroeconomics and financial markets, or the FinTech course. For the FinTech course, you need to make sure you're enrolled in Finance 6307 first, because you can do them together. For the macro and the introduction, actually for the macroeconomics and the regulations class, I do think you need to be in that Finance 6301 and then add it to your basket. But you may find that you're taking a class outside of Fin. Just remember, you'll have to meet those prerequisites, and I can talk about some popular choices if folks would like me to do that. But your finance choices for spring will be limited. I don't have anything in here about summer, but I do want to make a comment about summer. If you're looking at taking classes in the summer, the core classes are typically offered, but the elective choices are usually very thin. What I mean by that is usually you don't have a lot of choices about your electives in summer. So just be mindful that you want to think about what electives you're going to do for both semesters if you do plan to take classes in the summer, and some people don't. So that's kind of up to you. So that's kind of about that part. Let me see if there's any questions so far. I know this is quite a lot to digest about waivers, transfers, enrollment process, electives. I got some typing in the chat here, so. How many courses would you recommend taking a semester? So I would normally say somewhere at the minimum for full-time enrollment is 9 credit hours. So anywhere from 9 to 12 is usually fine. If you pick up, if you have 13, because one is MAS 6102, I think that's fine. But normally you probably want to keep it at either 9 to 12. It depends on what else you're doing. If you're involved in activities, then 9 may make sense. If you're sitting for a professional exam, 9 may make sense. If you're trying to lean heavily into the interview season, again, it's a question of how much time you have to spend on the other things. If you're applying for scholarships, you will need to take at least the 12 credit hours and then the one MAS credit of 1 MAS. In the summer, full-time is only 6 credit hours. So in the summer, it's a reduced amount, and students don't have to take classes in the summer. So that's completely voluntary. Students sometimes won't take any, sometimes they'll take 1 class, sometimes they'll take 2. But summer full-time is only 6 credit hours. The other question is, if we take 9 credit hours in the spring and 3 credit hours in the summer, can we apply for the fall 2024 scholarship? Unfortunately, the answer is no. It has to be 12 credit hours in the spring. And that determination was made by the scholarship committee. So you would need to take the 12 in the spring. What I would tell you is to be just mindful of what you're taking. I mean, 9 credits, so just be thoughtful about your electives. And I'm sure that there's folks around that can help you with some of that information. So the internship eligibility criteria, you have to complete a CPT course and you have to complete 2 long semesters at UTD. So if you're starting in the spring, it would be spring and fall. You would be eligible next spring and next summer for internships. So spring 2025 and summer 2025. So, yep. So a little bit more about enrollment. They're going to temporarily lift any holds that you have so that you can enroll, but they will put those holds back. Those holds typically are for official documents, so they need your transcript, they need some official document that's not there, maybe your graduate certificate. You will need to do a TB test in the US before you attend classes. That's coming from the health center. So they'll lift that hold so you can enroll, but realize you'll be doing that when you get here. There'll be an international orientation when you get here, and they'll want you to report your address to ISSO. It's a residency requirement for international students. If you're domestic, obviously you don't do that. But just be aware that the holds that disappear will come back. So as you get closer to coming to UTD and starting spring, try to start taking care of as many of those holds as they can. So someone had asked about the scholarship application deadlines. They do close typically in May. I'm reading some of these in case someone's listening. Comments don't always come through. We studied accounting in undergrad, but we want to take it again to review. Can we request to make it a co-requisite along with a valuation class in the same semester? So what'll probably happen is you'll just take the accounting class as a grad student, and you'll just take it alongside your Finance 6301, and that'll give you a bit of review for that. How does the finance internship work for CFA track? The same as it does for all the other tracks. So you have to complete 2 long semesters here at UTD. During your MAS 6102, they will talk about that internship process, how to find positions, getting your resume ready, your LinkedIn profile, best practices. You'll do a lot of information with that. Just realize that and so they'll go through all of those procedures. When the time comes and you get your position, you get an offer letter and you submit it through Galaxy Orion for processing. And so we look, one of the big things we look for is whether the internship aligns with your degree. But there's some other rules that come along for that, and that'll all be covered at that time.
Sorry, Dorothy, I interrupt. I put all these links in the chat box, including internship, scholarship. Yeah, so we just try to try to answer the question as much as we could, and then probably after this webinar, and then you may copy paste these links to your own notebook, and then you may just go through all these links for the details. Later, probably Dorothy will put the MS Finance email account over there. Then later on, if you have any questions, then specifically on internship or scholarship, then you just feel free to email us. But anyway, I have already put all the links in the chat box. Yeah, just for your later on reading. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you would put the link to the finance program resources too, we're still working on updating that page, but it's got some information about careers and career
Sure, I will. Yeah.
activities. I was wondering what the course Fin 6V98 finance internship means. So the class Fin 6V98 is the name of the internship class. So you won't be able to do anything with that. And even once you're here and you get your internship, you actually don't get to enroll yourself. It's part of the internship processing. So what happens as part of the internship is you can do it for 1, 2, or 3 credit hours, up to a maximum of 3 credit hours. And the number of credit hours depends on the number of hours you work at that employer, as well as the number of hours you choose, and you try to spread those out over the semesters if you can. It does count as a Fin elective. So Trupti, I know you want to jump in here. You're on mute.
Yes, there's one question from Vedant Poddar. He is asking about selection of tracks for his courses. So I just want to answer that. For first semester, there's no really choice available for selection of class. You just have to go with 3 core courses. And once you are here, like on campus, there are various activities involved. Graduate Finance Management conducts various activities. You can talk to us, talk to Dr. C, talk to Penny, and then can select your course and accordingly go forward with your specialization for summer as well as fall selection. So for spring, you need not worry about your specialization, what specialization path you want to take in.
Yeah, and I'll chime in because they're asking that question because of the 12, they have to pick up an elective. And so the question becomes what elective they want. And if you don't know what track, is this a big problem? I would say no, it's not a big problem if you don't know your track yet. It is, and the reason for that is just remember you need 4 electives that are Fin, 2 can come from other areas. So you can pick an elective, and even if you choose a track later and it's not part of the track, it's not going to do you any harm. It's just the tracks are just guidances to help you in different directions. So I'll kind of address this a little bit. If you're in the CFA track or financial analyst, I should really call it by its proper name. For financial analyst, it'd probably be Fin 6308, the regulations class, or Fin 6325, which is markets. If you're in the corporate finance track, a lot of those require Finance 6301 to do that. So they often end up taking MECO 6352, but I'll tell you that's a very popular class. So getting into that class can be a little bit of a challenge. I would also argue for corporate Fin, you may want to consider Fin 6325 if you can't, or 63 or 6308. Actually, one of the other classes will also work if you can't get into the MECO one. I'm trying to remember these. So for FinTech, it's pretty straightforward. You want Fin 6392 because that's the blockchain class. For real estate, pretty much want Fin 6321, or you can take it under real if you prefer, because that is their first class for that track. And if you're in financial management, you can take whatever it is you kind of want. So the other one that's very popular is Buon 6320, which is the database class. So those are probably some of the most popular ones for the first semester. And then there's a question in the chat about if I get a scholarship other than the Dean's Scholarship, can we convert to in-state tuition and fees? I think this will depend on where the scholarship is from. I mean, I guess that's a question that's probably better for the scholarship organization and group to answer that question, because it just depends on what the scholarship is and who awarded it, I would suspect. As far as registering for classes, Penny, can you put the link from advising, if it's not in there already, on how to register? It may be in there already. Okay, thank you. Can we expect an answer for the scholarship application for spring 2024? Those decisions are made by the scholarship group. They look at those scholarship applications about every couple of weeks, and they award scholarships to the top people in the pool at that time. So they determine when that is. The longer it goes, then typically you're just not as competitive as the other people in the pool. But I would tell you, I don't know when their final decision will be for the spring 2024. That again is a scholarship question, and I'm not on that committee. And that's about enrollment. Try to see if we got some other stuff. And as far as a waiver for statistics, you can just, Penny's probably typing this in, but you can just email us at the MS Finance mailbox. You just need to provide us some information. And I would wait to find out if it's even needed or not before you all email us, because we just finished going through some of these prereqs. So, but you'll know in time to register. Other questions? Okay, I know we got some folks typing, but I'm going to kind of go on here a little bit. When you have questions, one of the big things we get is who should we ask? I need to put GraphMac on here actually, but who should you ask? So if you have questions about your courses, your degree plan, what professional exams I should take, Penny and I can assist with this part. If it's a question about how's my waiver going, what's my transfer, other than the statistics waivers, all the other waivers, like for accounting or finance or anything else, those all go to grad advising. If you have trouble with registration, that typically goes to grad advising as well. If you say, Dr. C, can you enroll me in my class? The answer is no, I can't enroll anybody. I have to send you to grad advising. I can tell you which class to take, but I can't put you in it. And then for specific things like ISSO or tuition or admissions or scholarships, you can tell these are going to go to specific groups. So I can't help you much with financial aid or your bursar's office. I'll just be directing you. Penny and I would direct you to them. If you have questions about, what courses should I take? Should I take 6318 at the same time I'm doing modeling for valuation? Those kinds of questions. GraphMac and the students who are, it serves as our peer mentors and student ambassadors, and they can answer those questions quite well. And make sure you use your UTD email when you communicate. That's always an important thing to do. So question in the chat, is there any courses which we can register voluntarily other than the curriculum? I'm not sure I understand your question. So for the financial and then I'll just go to the next one and we'll see if we can get the voluntarily, the question about courses other than curriculum question. But if you're doing financial management track, you can really pick any class you want. It's a catch-all. So for the financial management track, you could do Fin 6308, which is the regulations, Fin 6325, which is macroeconomics, Fin 6321, which is real estate, Fin 6392. You could do that MECO 6352, which is negotiation and dispute resolution. You could do basic macro micro if you would prefer. You could do that business analytics class. So you can see you have all kinds of choices because it's really what you want to do. If you can't take MECO 6352 or you don't want to take MECO 6352, you really can take any of the other classes. I mean, I would argue that if you're doing corporate fin, knowing something about real estate is probably a good thing. If you're doing corporate finance and knowing something about the markets, it's probably a good thing. So I don't think that they're, really at that point you can make a bad choice. It's just in that track, the choices are somewhat limited in terms of kind of the recommended courses. And so if you can't take the MECO 6352 or don't want to take negotiation, some people don't, you could just pick one of the other fin courses. It will be fine. Are there student ambassadors? Oh, well, Trupti, this is you.
I put the mentor email over there. So yes, they can reach out. They send an email to the mentor MS Finance. And then yes, you will get help. So I put the email over here.
Okay, great. And now we have clarification. Can I take classes on my own outside of my regular school courses to learn something I'm interested in? Of course, you can always do that. So if you want to take some courses through Data Camp, you'll have an opportunity to do that. If you wanted to take, you could take other courses. You just have to make sure you leave yourself enough bandwidth to do your courses that you're taking here. So you can always pick up courses outside of UTD. You just want to be mindful of your time commitment. So I did mention scholarship. There's Dean's Excellence, which is based on GPA and GMAT GRE. They're still working on these. I suspect they will be for a bit. Scholarships are only awarded in fall for continuing students. So if you're starting in the spring, you'll be considered a continuing student. They'll do Dean's Impact and Dean's Excellence. And you need to complete a minimum of 12 credit hours in the spring. You may also see something called the Texas Business Hall of Fame, which is only for U.S. citizens or permanent residents. It's not technically a scholarship, it's an award. And it's really to help in a lot of ways, it's to help for new entrepreneurs and their ideas. But if you see that, that's what that is. So just again, remember, you're going to need the 12 credit hours. And since people are already asking about internships, I will touch on this a little bit. Start early. So dig through Corporate Finance Institute. Some of these other places have videos. There's lots of places in Financial Management Association also to help you identify what you want to do and potential employers. That professional development class does help with this. The Career Management Center has tips for internships and job searches. So does our Business Communication Center. Sorry, I can't resist waving at little ones. Make sure you're trying to develop your skills. So take certifications, workshops, so those classes outside of JSOM. So if you want to get certified, we also have databases in the lab. Interact as much as you can. Program events, workshops. GraphMac has roundtables, guest speakers, mentorships, all kinds of things. So connecting is important. And we already talked about the visa part. So starting early is definitely something you can do. Since you can't start your internship for a while, you have a little bit of time to kind of build those skills. And summer is a great time to do that, actually. So it is October 23rd, and you can finally find your classes, and you get your date, and you've registered for classes. What should I do? You can look at what the resources are available at UTD. So the student clubs, the CMC, the Business Communication Center, the library, the trading lab, all of those things. You can start thinking about what it is you want to do, identifying potential employers, and building your skills. And those are some things you can do. So I'm going to ask Trupti to speak to how early should we come to the US before the semester starts? I'll bet that GraphMac can answer that question a little better than I can. I would say at least a week before classes start, but
yeah, I would say like 8 to 10 days before classes start, so that you can get used to the change in timings. You can set up very well for whatever things you need in here, and have a look around the campus and figure out what your plan is for the upcoming semester, and then start with your classes. So 8 to 10 days buffer is very much required.
yeah, it helps you get settled in. It really does. I know sometimes life doesn't allow that to happen, but to the extent that you can get here 8 to 10 days ahead of time, it lets you take care of all the other paperwork and get settled in. How do you qualify? Would you qualify for the Dean's Excellence Scholarship if you've completed 12 credit hours in the spring and had a GMAT waiver? Yes, you do. So the continuing student scholarships do not require the GMAT GRE. That is only for new students. So, and then you can tell this is the main gist. I realize I've just sort of gotten towards the end here. We will send out the slides to everybody at the end. You'll see that there's sort of a course planning guide that you can use to kind of help you out to map out your courses. And it gives you the choice of 3 or 4 semesters, depending upon what you want. And then at the end, it's typical offerings by semester. This does change, but it does provide some information. I know this is a lot to look at, so that's one of the reasons we will send this out so that you will have that available. So I'm going to stop sharing and then see what other questions we can take here.
I think there's a last one. Can we join clubs and extracurricular before we arrive in the US? Or it's done once the semester starts?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really have no idea. No one has asked us to join early, but I know that students before they get here are often in contact with GraphMac, and so they kind of know. And there's other student orgs as well, even though I'm shamelessly plugging our Graduate Finance Management Council. There are I think we're up to almost 70 clubs within JSOM. So if you can't find a club that does what you want, you didn't look. So we have Financial Leadership Association, which tends to lean into investment banking. We have a real estate club. It's clear what they do. An energy club, an investment club, a fintech club. You can tell I'm doing this from memory. And those are finance alone. So you figure, and then GraphMac. So And there's clubs for all the other, other programs too. So there's just a lot of places to be involved. There's also clubs within UTD itself. So there's a lot of places to get involved and to do that. So you may not be able to join, but I suggest trying to figure out where you might want to start. Yeah.
Sorry, Dr. C, I interrupt.
No.
I can put that SOC link over in the chat box. They may take a look at the organizations in the whole university level. And then another way is then probably once you arrive on campus, and then once the semester starts, you will receive a lot of email from student organization mention about their kickoff meeting. Then you may take this opportunity to participate as many kickoff meeting as possible to learn what the club is about, and then probably can help you have a better idea which club you would like to participate in. Yeah, I will put the link over here.
Yeah, so there's a couple of questions about WhatsApp and Facebook group. I know we have a Facebook group for MS Finance students. Everyone who knows me, that my social media skills, I default to those who have the more skills than me.
Over here, Thursday, over here. So Facebook right now, because I think Facebook is for more older generation. Sorry. So I know the young. I mean, I also have Facebook account, but I feel the young generation, they use Instagram or WhatsApp more often. So probably Group T, can any one of the officer create a WhatsApp link for spring students? Then probably I can share with them later on.
Yeah. We have Varsha on the call. So since Varsha will be there in the spring, Varsha, can you prepare a group and share a link over here so that everybody can join in?
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, if Varsha, if you cannot catch the time, and it's okay, just send to me. Then when I share this recording with all the active students, I can also put that link in the same email.
Done. I'll just share with Penny.
Okay, there's one question related to on-campus job. So I just want to answer that. So on-campus job, once you are enrolled, I think you will get an access to your handshake account. Once that is done, you can start applying. But if you are an international student coming here on F1 visa, you have to be here to start your job, because before starting your job, there are some prerequisites, some paperwork you need to complete. So for that, you'll have to be on the campus. So you can start applying once you get your handshake account activated.
Yeah, and there was a question about housing. I put the link for housing also in the chat. I can't speak for what's available on campus. You would want to call campus housing. I do know that there's also a number of places off campus, but they're within the bus route. So they're fairly convenient to campus as well. A number of students stay there.
So I'll put the housing link over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see, other questions you may have.
To add to the housing, actually, there is an availability, but you have to see the availability in the housing website page. So you'll get to know, but you need to apply as early as possible, even for the spring. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
And just as an observation, I think that's true universally for all campuses. So I had to help too find housing for their undergrads. Other questions you might want to know about UTD or registration? I know it's a lot, and over the coming weeks and months, you're going to have questions as you go. The MS Finance mailbox and GraphMac are both wonderful places to try to get your questions answered. We want you to have a great experience here. And we want to make sure you get settled in and get everything ready to go and have a great start to your first semester. So we're happy to answer whatever questions you might have about living here in Dallas or getting registered for classes, curriculum, or any of those things. We'll see if there's any more questions.
So Dorothy, I want to ask you a question. So when
Sure.
will the students say their courses on a course book?
So it
23rd,
will,
right?
the 23rd. So on Monday, the schedule will go live. Everyone will get to see the schedule at the same time, me included. So I have not seen the schedule, just like you. And then you'll be able to look and pick your courses. Now, you won't be able to enroll in your courses until your enrollment date. And if you're looking at a course and it's an elective and it fills up, not to worry. We're all here to help you find another course that might be an attractive choice for you for your major. In fact, it reminds me, I should probably check. There is another accounting course that may be helpful for the folks that are doing that corporate fin track. So again, we'll help you find a course that fits your goals to make sure that you're within the scope of what it is you want to know. So the registration for international orientation, are they required to be in person? I'm going to defer that to someone else because I do not know. I think so.
So I put the link. I put the link in the chat box, the orientation requirement link. So I have no much idea of this one.
Okay, I will I will leave that to you. Once we enroll in a course, can we switch to another course once the semester starts? It depends when you do the switch, but I would tell you if you're switching courses, I recommend doing it as early as possible because classes start the first week. If you're switching classes, you may have missed some material. So you want to try to get the class that you want. So switching, can you do it? Yeah. And if you do it after a certain point, you will have to pay a fee to switch probably, or at least a fee if you're doing a drop in ads. So just be mindful of doing that. Just to generally encourage people to be thoughtful about what you want, but you can. New student orientation. There is definitely a new student orientation in the incoming spring semester. So it's a broad based, but what happens is it's for JSOM, and then there's a breakout session that's typically for the MS program. So it'll be finance students. So there is. And if it's available for you corporate finance people, this is another it is an accounting class, but it is a class that you could do. It's in corporate governance. In case you didn't want to do the MECO class. So don't know for the 100% that that'll be available in the spring, but I do know that that's one that you could do. So I wanted to give you at least another option.
Enrollment date.
Yes. So the schedule is released on October 23rd. You will not be able to enroll right away. All that does is let you see the schedule and start to select your classes, put them in your shopping cart. But you will not be able to enroll in classes until whatever enrollment date is in Galaxy Orion. So it looks like the first dates may be from the 7th of November. If it's typical, usually in theory, the seniors or the people who've been here longer usually enroll a little earlier so they can make sure that they get what they need to graduate. But for newer students, it's usually a little bit later. But newer students are typically enrolling in things that other students don't need. They've already done it. So you just have to check Galaxy Orion for the official enrollment date, but you can start your scheduling and planning on October 23rd. And then we got another question coming. Has it happened that core classes become full before we enrolled? So I'll give you the technical answer and then I'll give you what happens. So technically, yeah, they can happen. That we don't have enough sections or they're not large enough and they get full. So I monitor the enrollment. If they get full, we decide if we need to offer another section. We decide if we need to have a little bigger section. We will make sure that you get enrolled, particularly in the 3 core classes in your first semester. So part of my job and my goal is to make sure that everybody who needs accounting, finance 6301 and finance 6307 gets enrolled in those classes. Now, the electives are a little bit different because you have choice. So you may not get your first choice of elective, but we'll try to get you in those if we can as well. So it depends on what the class is. So we will make sure you get there. So other questions? Well, I want to thank you all for joining us this morning. And again, if you have other questions, I'm just going to re-put the MS Finance mailbox in here. Does GraphMac have anything you guys want to add? You're muted.
No, I just
Yeah.
want to introduce them to
Yes.
the Graduate Finance Management Council. So we are a student organization working with the guidance of Dr. C. N. Penny here. And yeah, we are always available to answer your questions, whatever questions you have, be it related to off-campus housing, on-campus housing, bus routes available, or classes available, what kind of classes you should go if you're not aware about your tracks, what should you do about that, what kind of other student organizations you have, any kind of help you require on campus. Look out for an email from Graduate Finance Management Council, and yeah, you can connect with us on LinkedIn as well, so that we can have like more personalized sessions with you. And once you're here, we'll be always on campus, so that will be like more of an interactive session. So yeah, and welcome to UTD and have a nice semester.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, thank you again for joining us. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, we're happy to help you get enrolled once the time comes. We have a little bit of a wait, but we're happy you chose UTD, and we look forward to seeing you in January. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.